Good morning, everybody, and I want to thank you for joining me today on Saturday to learn some of the best practices to make getting started in real estate investing successful. I want to first, as people are logging in, give you a little bit of my background. But we have been investing in real estate for 20 years. My husband came home one day sick of his boss, and he did it the wrong way. He quit his job and decided to become a real estate investor. Luckily, we had my income to settle back on, until we got through the getting started. We've done just about everything. When we started, we rehabbed and flipped houses to owner occupants and a lot to landlords. Along the way, we discovered that wholesaling was a great way to make some great income. And about 2004, we discovered this whole thing of real estate investor associations. We became members of the local group. We shortly became leaders of the local group. And eventually we started our own group here in Kansas City. I also am always studying what everybody's doing out there to stay on top of what's going on. And I like to learn from others, and I attend a lot of events, a lot of them online like this one. So that's a little bit about me. In my office, I am the real estate broker. I also do I do all of the marketing just about. And my husband manages the rehabs, and my son is the boots on the ground talking to people. So that kind of gives you a background so that I actually can say I do know what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get started here. Why do some wannabe investors never make it and others are an instant success? This is a question that I get from a lot of different people. And in 20 years, I've seen a lot of real estate investors come and go, especially at the Real Estate Investor Group. Some come in, they're all gung-ho, and then after 2 or 3 months, I just don't see them again. And then some are out there, they're working hard, but they never seem to get anywhere. And then I have another person that just comes in and bang, they're like total success. And one of those people I know that's been coming and coming and coming, he's never done a deal. And I think he's been to every real estate training, bought every course. Why hasn't he gone anywhere? I have another person that came to his first event this past January. He came to the Robin Thompson training. That was the very first time he'd ever been there. He had a plan, he knew his goals, and he wanted to learn what Robin Thompson was teaching. Before she even started selling her course, he bought it because she mentioned that she had a boot camp the following week and had one spot left. He went to the boot camp the following week. Within 3 or 4 months, he'd done 2 or 3 deals, and he just seems to be just moving on. So what makes the difference between the people that never do anything and then the person that just jumps in and goes straight ahead right away? I want to take a look at that here at the beginning. I know a lot of people that work hard. They go to the workshops, they go look at houses, but they're not getting anywhere. I know other people, and this was me when I was getting started. Without my husband and the team, I would have been the procrastinator. I was the person that had to have the right company name. I had to get the right business card. I needed to have the perfect everything before I could do anything. If you see any of the stuff I have going out today, I think I'm over that, because if I found that if I have to have it perfect, it won't get done. But that procrastination is really a symptom of something else, and I think that is fear. You're really afraid to move ahead because you don't know what's going to happen, so you invent things that you need to do before you can jump in and make an offer, or you can go look at a house, or talk to a seller, or send out a marketing letter. You're afraid to do it because you really don't know what to do, so you create things to slow you down so you don't have to do it. I was really big with that. But I've talked about that. Procrastination really is just a symptom of being afraid. I've met other people, they haven't done a deal because they say that there is no deals out there. They're looking for the perfect deal. And for those of you that are just new to real estate investing, I can tell you, if you're out there looking for the perfect deal, In 20 years of investing in real estate, I found the perfect deal twice. And I don't know that they were the perfect deal because I didn't even know they were a good deal. It took somebody else thinking outside of the box to show me they were a good deal. One in particular, and I think I talk about this later today, but we had a house that the seller called us and said, you know, I have this house, it's in horrible shape. It's in Prairie Village, which for those of you that don't know, Prairie Village is a area where every house is built out. It's a really desirable area, and there's no more lots, and the houses are small. We looked at the house as if we bought it and rehabbed it and fixed it, it would be worth about $350,000. The house needed about $100,000 or more in repairs, and the seller wanted $130,000. And when you added all that up, for us to rehab it, didn't make sense. For us to wholesale it, it really didn't make sense. And then my son, who was new to the team, says, hey, wait a minute, there's 4 or 5 houses on this street that are selling for $750,000 to $1 million, and the people that are selling them bought the old house and demolished it. And when we looked at it at that model, the house went from a no deal to that we could wholesale this house for $220,000. That was our perfect deal. We've done it once in a year, in 20 years. I don't expect to do it again. And I would have totally missed it, except I had a student in my office that told me I was crazy, basically. A lot of other people, they're afraid to get started because they lack education. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to get started. And then I have other people that say they don't know what to do, but they have shelves of education like this. I have several people that have bought every training course known to man, and they don't know what to do. And so they're not getting started. I know other successful investors that went out there, got started, had absolutely no education in the subject. For example, my husband, when he got started, he had this concept. We're going to go out and buy a house, we're going to rehab it, and we're going to sell it. We didn't have a training course. We didn't have a podcast. We really didn't even have the internet to go find stuff. The only thing we had to figure out how to do all this was talking to other people. I know a couple of other successful investors, they went out, they bought a couple of books, jumped in, they figured it out, they were great. And then I've seen others that just have a lot of training. They just have too much training possibly, and they don't know where to go. But I was still trying to figure out what makes different people successful and others not, with the same exact materials in front of them. And so in my search for an answer, why do so many people get started, come to our RIA group, and then disappear? Well, some of them just figure out, you know, it's too hard. They lack a reason or the willpower to do it. But I went online and I wanted to see what other people thought about it. Why did other people think that some people succeed and some don't? And in my search, I ran across one of my mentors, Vina Jones-Cox. And if you grab the link list that I provided in the documents, I have a link to her YouTube page. She has a lot of great information, and she has several videos on why real estate investors are successful. And it boils down to 7 things. The number one reason why people succeed at real estate or at whatever they decide to do, they have a reason for wanting to change. They want, you know what, if you talk to people, why do you want to be a real estate investor? And I've been to several guru workshops, and that's always where we start. Why do you want to be a real estate investor? And they do a group discussion, and people will say, oh, I want to become a real estate investor because I don't like my job. I don't want to work so many more hours. I'd like more time to spend with my kids. I'd like to be able to work from home. I'd like to travel. But what all of that boils down to is, you know, they have a reason that they want financial success so they can do what they want, when they want, and how they want. The number 2 reason that she gave that people succeed is they can define for themselves what is success. They can sit down and say, in 5 years, I'll have built up an emergency reserve fund of $25,000 and I'll have another $25,000 in working capital. So I'm not worried about losing my job or having a broken car or somebody getting sick. In 5 years, I can pay off my $10,000 in credit card debt and $40,000 in student loans and not create new debt unless it's making me money. And in 10 years, I'll be self-employed, earning $10,000 a month. I will work for 10 to 15 hours a week to manage my $3,000 in monthly cash flow investments, and I'm going to do another few larger flip deals, average $7,000 a month. They can sit down and put exact numbers and time frames to define when they know they've had success. They know what they want. Do they want cash reserves? Do they want debts paid off? Do they want to replace their job? Do they want to keep their job and then have free time to go do other things? They can tell you exactly what it is that they want to do. The third thing that makes people successful, and I thought this was really hokey when I was getting started, but they sat down and they have a plan. And this really stood out to me on Vina's video, because the successful people, they've sat down and written out a business plan or a success plan, and then they detail how they're going to get to their goals. So I want to pay off $10,000 in credit card debt. How am I going to do that? I want to replace my job with cash flow income. How am I going to do that? Am I going to buy 5 rentals over time to create this cash flow? How am I going to do it? They sit down and write out a detailed plan, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. And then they check back on the plan to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. If something isn't working, they can adjust. When they look at their plan and they have their goals, they pick, and this is what Vina's key thing in her videos that I got, was when you're trying to have success, they pick a strategy that's specifically designed to create the profits to reach their goals. So what do I mean? If a person out there has the goal of, I want to pay off $50,000 in student loan debt, they have several different strategies to get there in real estate. For example, wholesaling. You buy a house, you sell, and you flip a house. If they're wholesaling or rehabbing, you earn a chunk of cash that you can put towards that goal of paying off $50,000 debt. If I wholesale a house and make $10,000, I can pay part of that $10,000 to that debt. On the other hand, if I picked a strategy such as, I'm going to buy cash flow rentals, and each rental is going to make $200 a month. If I'm trying to pay down debt, that $200 a month isn't going to work very well to reach my goal of paying down debt. It would be helpful for creating a cash flow income to replace my job, but you want to find the right strategy to fit what it is that you need to do to be successful. We're talking about planning, and I was one of those people, just the planning didn't make sense to me, and it still didn't make sense to me. I mean, I understood the whole concept planning, but why that made somebody successful, it didn't still resonate with me when I watched Vina's video. But we'll get back to it in a little bit. It'll make sense as we go on. There was several other things that Vina mentioned to be successful, and we're going to cover a lot of these today as well. They get an education on the strategy that they have picked to make sure they know what they're doing. They sit down and learn what a good deal for their strategy is. So if you're going to, flip houses, you want to buy the right kind of house to flip. If you're going to hold rentals, you want to buy the right kind of house for rentals. The successful people also have 3 or 4 ways to find deals, whether it's going out and hunting for deals or marketing for deals, or they have people that bring them deals. They find 3 or 4 ways to keep the deals coming in that they need. Other successful investors also have several ways that they fund their investments. And number 8 is where a lot of people, they get all the way to number 7, and I'm one of these people. Number 8 is you need to build systems and use your team and technology so you don't have to do work all yourself. Number 8 is where I'm struggling, and I'm still working on getting everything outsourced so I don't do all the work myself. Then, this was just last month at the Mary meeting. And I was sitting down after the meeting with one of our members, and I'm going to call her Sue just so she has a name. And I really want to tell you what I learned from this. She has been coming to Mary for, I would say, a little over a year and a half. And after the meeting, she usually joins us. There's always a meeting after the meeting. And she always has some questions. And last meeting, she had some interesting questions, and we were trying to help her. She had 3 deals that she wanted some ideas with. The first deal was a $600,000 house on 60 acres, something like that. And her idea was to buy the 60 acres, subdivide it, somehow find a builder partner that had the money to do this, and build 2 houses and sell all 3 of them. She wanted to know how to subdivide, how to find a surveyor, all these things. I'm like, in 20 years, I've never done that. It's not something I can help you with. So we went on to her next deal. She had a friend with a house probably in the 250 range. It was, I believe, in Grain Valley. So in town in Grain Valley, which is edge of the metro. And they had a new job in Nebraska. They were trying to sell their house here so they could fully move to Nebraska, but it didn't sell. I'm going to guess because it was priced too high, and in the area of town where houses don't sell quite as fast. And she thought that maybe she could do a sandwich lease option on that one. But again, she didn't have any money to do the deal, so she was, trying to figure out how to put that together. Then she had another smaller deal, probably a little $60,000 rental house that a lady at her church had. She was, going to move in with kids, and she wanted to sell it. And she just wanted help on all these deals. She thought maybe she could do a subject to, or maybe a contract for deed on this. And my question as she was going through all these houses was, what's her exit strategy? What are you trying to do? How are you going to get there? We offered her some suggestions, and some of the other people there offered some suggestions. But I don't know that we really gave her the answer that we should have given her. So we continued talking. I really didn't have an answer for her on those 3 deals. And then she told us about her first wholesale deal. She said this was a little house in Old Independence. And if you don't know Old Independence, these are 100-year-old houses. She said the house had an exterior wall and a roof, but it had no interior walls, no floors. There was just a shell, a dirt floor with a giant hole when you walked in the front door, so you really couldn't walk in the front door. And her husband said she was nuts, but she got it under contract for something like $3,000, sold it for $7,000, and earned about $4,000. It wasn't a really big number, but it was a small enough amount of zeros in this deal that it didn't scare her. She could wrap her head around it. And she said, when I did this deal, I was really focused. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't scared. But she says now every deal she has that comes along, she's just scared. She's just scared to make an offer. She's scared to do anything. She's scared of making a mistake. She's scared of losing money. She's scared of not making as much as she could because she picks the wrong strategy. But as I looked at this first deal she did, I'm like, if you can do that first deal, which would have scared the crap out of me because really and truly it needed to be demolished, she still did the deal. So that should have given her some sort of, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing, so let's proceed. But then she went back and she just stopped. So then we went on talking, and I asked her about her education because she's asking me all these questions, and she knows a lot of, she seemed very knowledgeable about all these different subjects in real estate investing. And she says, oh yeah, she went to one of those big fancy, 3-day boot camps. The guy comes to town and he holds a free seminar, and then you go to the weekend seminar, and then they're pitching this big expensive training package, and her mother-in-law had bought this training package. So she had access to a lot of education, but what she had was too much education. Had a lot of fancy words that she kind of knew how and what it meant, but there's too many options. She had no idea what direction to go and what to do. And when you have too many options, you really get scared. In my conversation with Sue, it didn't hit me that night till I sat down to, review my notes and start putting this presentation together. What was Sue missing? Let's go back to Vena's things that she needed. She needed to have a reason for change. Well, I'm going to guess that with her mother spending tens of thousands of dollars on this training program for her and the family, that they were really excited by the promoter at the event, and they really wanted something better in life, so the mom bought this training course for her children. And I'm guessing that Sue had a really good reason for wanting it to get into real estate, or she wouldn't have flipped that little junker house and made $4 grand. But that wasn't getting her where she needed to go, not just a reason. And I think this is where Sue was lacking in getting over her fear of getting to her success. She hadn't sat down and defined for her what her success was. She doesn't know what she's trying to do. Her only goal in getting into real estate investing is to be a real estate investor. But why? Does she want to pay down debt? Does she want to build up reserves? Does she want to build a cash flow business? She doesn't know what her goal is, so she doesn't know what strategy to pick. And without a goal and picking a strategy, she can't put it together a plan. She has a training plan that has all these different ways to do things, but she doesn't know which thing to do. Rather than saying, I need to pay off debt, so I need to use a strategy that creates quick cash, or I have no debt and cash in the bank, but I want to replace my job, so I need to focus on creating cash flow, she doesn't know what to do. So without a goal and a strategy in mind, she doesn't know which part of her education to focus on. She can't go out and figure out what is a good deal for that strategy. Each different type of real estate investing has better ways to find the deals, so she doesn't know what way to focus on to find the deals. Rather, instead, she's just waiting for the deals to come happen to her. And she really has no way to fund these deals because there's no idea of what the deal is, and without any of that, you can't build systems and outsource yourself. Hopefully this is making a little bit of sense to you. So sitting there talking to Sue, I had an epiphany. Sue has a reason for getting into real estate investing and a lot of education, and she's been out there working hard trying to turn random properties into deals based on all the education. She's trying to take the deals that land on her desk, whatever those deals might be, and trying to turn them into a deal rather than writing out a map showing where she is today, financially, time-wise, in her life, and where she wants to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. She has no idea what strategy that's best for her to focus on, so she has no focus. She's just out there trying everything. If she knew within her goals and strategies that I need to wholesale houses or I need to buy rental houses, if she knew she needed to wholesale a house, or she knew she needed to buy rental houses, or she knew she needed to be a lender to get a return, then she could develop a picture of what the perfect deal for her would be, where it would be located, how the profits would work, how to find it. She could figure out how to source those deals. She could tell other people what she's looking for, and then she could work out a plan. First thing I'm going to say that every real estate investor needs to do to become successful is sit down and define what success is for you. And if you go to the training materials that I provided, there's a book that goes with this, and there's quite a bit of lengthy sections on developing your plan and defining success. You want to sit down and look at your current expenses, your current income, your current debts, your current cash, and figure out where you are right now and where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. Write it out in timelines with numbers. And then you want to go through the education that you already have, or if you haven't really got into real estate investing and you're just getting your feet wet, find some sources of education to kind of learn all the different ways there are for investing. You can go through the guide that I gave you. You could, if you're a member of our association, we have a library with a wealth of information. You can go online today and find information on just about anything. And you want to pick the strategy that will provide the results you need. And we're going to talk more about picking strategies in a minute. And then once you've picked your strategy, using your education, develop a plan on what it is you want to do, how many deals you want to do a year, how much are you going to profit, what is your ideal deal, what is a good deal, how are you going to find it, how are you going to fund it, and how are you going to make that deal profitable. There's a lot of different moving parts, but you need to build the plan. And to everyone who registered, I just said this, there's this book that has a lot more detail, and I just wanted to stop here and thank everybody who registered for the class. You all became because I committed to you to have this book ready for everybody who attended the workshop. I developed a plan and a strategy to get it written around my daily activities, and I really want to thank Sue for turning the light bulb on for me. You're going to find a lot of detail on defining your success and picking your strategy, building your plan in the book.